Have you ever just stopped and thought about how a single, simple cell, billions of years ago, could possibly lead to, well, everything we see today? From a fungus that literally glows in the dark to the massive blue whale, the largest animal to have ever lived on this planet. The answer is one powerful, elegant idea: evolution. So let's dive in and really break it down.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Picture a fungus that actually lights up a forest at night, or a bird that can perfectly mimic the sound of a chainsaw. These things sound like they're from a sci-fi movie, but they're real. They're the wild, incredible results of a process that has been quietly shaping life for billions of years. So how on earth did we get here? How did all of this incredible diversity come to be? All right, so before we get into the how, let's just take a moment to appreciate the what. The sheer variety of life on Earth it's just staggering. And it's not just one thing. This diversity exists on multiple interconnected levels.
You can kind of think of biodiversity in three main layers. At the smallest level, you've got genetic diversity. That's all the tiny variations that make you, and me. Then, if you zoom out a bit, you get species diversity. That's the mind-boggling array of different kinds of life, from squirrels to sequoia trees. And finally, zooming all the way out, you have ecosystem diversity. This is the incredible range of places where life has found a way to thrive, from scorching deserts to the frozen Arctic. Every single level is a crucial piece of this amazing puzzle.
Okay, so all this variety has to come from somewhere, right? It doesn't just appear out of thin air. This variation is the raw material. It's the fuel for the engine of evolution. Let's take a look at where it actually comes from. So here we can see two key types of variation in action. On the left, you've got variation within a species. Think about these beetles, same species, but some are green and some are brown. On the right, you see variation between species. Look at the beaks on those birds. They're all different species of finch, and each beak shape is perfectly adapted to eat a specific kind of food. So where do all these genetic differences come from? Well, it really boils down to three main sources. First up, you have mutations. These are just tiny, random changes in DNA that create new versions of genes. Then there's sexual reproduction, which is like shuffling a deck of cards. It takes all those existing genes and mixes them up into brand new, unique combinations. And finally, you have gene flow. This is what happens when individuals move from one population to another, bringing their unique genes along for the ride. Okay, so we've established that there's variety, and we know where that variety comes from. Now we can take those pieces and put them together to build a really clear, solid definition of what evolution actually is. At its absolute core, this is it. Evolution is simply the process of change in a group, in a population, over the course of many generations. It's not about a single animal changing during its lifetime. It's about how the entire group shifts over huge stretches of time.
And this right here is probably the single most important thing to get right. An individual giraffe can't just try really hard and grow a longer neck. It doesn't work that way. But over many, many generations, the giraffes in a population that just happen to be born with slightly longer necks might get more food, survive better, and have more babies. The population as a whole evolves toward longer necks. It's the group, not the individual.
Now let's get just a little more scientific with it. But don't worry, it's not as complex as it sounds. The key word here is alleles, which is just a fancy term for different versions of a gene. So you might have the allele for blue eyes or the allele for brown eyes. Evolution, scientifically speaking, is when the frequency of these alleles changes in a population. So if that brown beetle allele becomes more and more common over time, guess what? That's evolution in action. It's something we can actually measure and observe. Now, I'm sure you've heard people dismiss evolution as just a theory. But here's the thing. In science, the word theory means something incredibly powerful. It is not a guess. It's not a hunch. Let's make that distinction crystal clear.
In everyday life, we use theory to mean a guess, right? I have a theory about why the traffic is so bad. But in science, it's practically the opposite. A hypothesis is a specific, testable guess. A scientific theory, like the theory of evolution or the theory of gravity, is a massive, broad explanation for a huge range of observations. It's been tested over and over and over from every angle imaginable, and it has passed every single test. It's really the highest level of certainty you can get in science. And the theory of evolution isn't just propped up by one piece of evidence. It's supported by a mountain of evidence from totally separate fields of science. The fossil record shows us the history of life written in stone. Genetics and DNA reveal the shared blueprint connecting all living things. Comparative anatomy shows us the ghost of shared ancestry in the bones of different animals.
Biochemistry shows us we all use the same basic molecular toolkit. They all point to the exact same conclusion. It's also really important to know what evolution is not. It's not some ladder of progress climbing towards a perfect goal with humans at the top. It's more like a branching bush, constantly adapting to whatever the local conditions are. And this is a big one. Evolution explains how life changes once it's already started. It doesn't explain how life first began. That's a totally separate and also fascinating scientific question. So when you put all of these pieces together, when you really let it sink in, you arrive at one of the most profound and beautiful ideas in all of human history. The idea that all of life is connected on one great, sprawling family tree. Yeah, you heard that right. This means that you, the tree outside your window, the mushrooms in the forest, the bacteria in your own gut, we are all, quite literally, distant cousins. Every living thing can trace its ancestry back through time to a single common ancestor that lived billions of years ago. Evolution is the story of how that one ancestor diversified into the breathtaking variety of life we see today. And this gives you a great picture of how that happened. Life didn't follow some straight, predictable path. Nope. It started from a single point, and then it branched. And then those branches branched. And those branches branched again, over and over for billions of years, each new branch representing a new evolutionary direction. This endless branching is what created the incredible, beautiful complexity of life on Earth. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this mean for us? Well, it means we aren't separate from nature. We are an integral, undeniable part of it. Every living thing is a relative, a fellow traveler on this 4 billion-year evolutionary journey. And as we continue to explore this vast tree of life, we're not just learning about the deep past. We are gaining a much deeper, more humbling understanding of ourselves and our tiny, precious place in the universe.